Danielle Smith confronts Ottawa with 5 bold demands for Alberta. CBC fires back with a harsh report. In the wake of Canada's 2025 federal election, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is making waves with 5 bold demands aimed at newly elected Liberal Prime Minister Mark Carney's government. Her assertive push for greater provincial autonomy has sparked national debate, further inflamed by a scathing CBC report questioning her spending of public funds. Smith's demands reflect long-standing frustrations in Alberta over federal policies perceived as undermining the province's economic potential, particularly regarding its vital energy sector. Her first demand: guaranteed access to national ports. Alberta's economy depends on exporting oil, gas, and minerals, yet faces logistical bottlenecks reaching global markets. Smith argues that assured port access is critical to unlocking Alberta's economic potential, creating jobs, and contributing to national prosperity. Secondly, Smith is calling for the repeal of federal legislation she sees as restrictive, notably Bill C-69, which imposes strict environmental assessments on major projects, and the oil tanker moratorium off BC's northern coast. She contends these policies stifle Alberta's resource development and global competitiveness, advocating their repeal as a pathway to growth, energy security, and national economic strength. Her third demand centers on Alberta's consent for any federal export taxes or restrictions that affect its resources. Smith insists that policies impacting Alberta's industries should not proceed without provincial agreement. This reflects growing frustration with perceived federal overreach and a desire for Alberta to safeguard its economic interests through a stronger say in federal decision-making. Fourth, Smith is pushing for equitable fiscal transfers. Despite Alberta's outsized contribution to the national economy, she argues it receives less financial support than provinces like Quebec and Ontario. Smith's call for fairness in fiscal policies highlights a broader demand for recognition of Alberta's role as an economic engine within the Federation. Lastly, Smith demands greater autonomy over Alberta's natural resource management. She argues that Alberta's unique environmental and economic realities warrant provincial control over resource governance, free from excessive federal intervention. This push for autonomy echoes a wider sentiment among provinces seeking more self-determination within Canada's federal framework. Yet as Smith rallies Albertans behind her bold agenda, controversy erupted with a CBC report alleging she spent $10,000 in taxpayer funds for a pre-election meeting with a foreign leader. The report ignited criticism over the use of public money for what critics view as politically motivated networking. Smith's allies argue the meeting was aimed at advancing Alberta's energy interests by forging international relationships. Her critics, however, question the propriety and optics of courting a polarizing figure. The spending controversy feeds into broader debates about government transparency and accountability. As scrutiny intensifies, Smith must navigate defending her record while advancing Alberta's demands. The CBC's critical coverage underscores both political and ethical challenges facing Smith as she squares off with Ottawa. Prime Minister Carney, for his part, has responded to Alberta's demands with a tone of cautious openness. While expressing willingness to engage in dialogue, Carney emphasizes that any negotiations must align with Canada's climate commitments and broader national priorities. His government aims to balance economic growth with environmental stewardship, a stance that may complicate Alberta's push for deregulation and expanded resource development. Carney's approach reflects an effort to bridge regional divides while staying true to the Liberal government's environmental agenda. His emphasis on collaboration signals a desire to avoid deepening tensions, but the path forward will require careful negotiation and compromise amid competing provincial and national interests. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who lost both the election and his parliamentary seat, has publicly acknowledged the party's defeat and vowed introspection. In a video message, Poilievre called for a renewal of conservative strategies to better connect with voters, particularly in regions like Alberta, where frustrations with Ottawa run deep. His statement signals a recognition that addressing regional grievances is key to future electoral success. Despite his loss, Poilievre remains an influential voice, championing fiscal conservatism and limited government. How he and the Conservatives respond to Alberta's push for autonomy and federal-provincial tensions more broadly will shape their political strategy moving forward. Smith's demands come at a time of heightened regional tensions and growing debates over federalism. Her aggressive stance embodies a broader desire among many Albertans to reclaim greater control over their economic destiny. Yet the CBC's scrutiny, combined with Ottawa's cautious response, reveals the complex balancing act ahead. The next chapter in federal-provincial relations will hinge on whether Carney's government and Alberta can find common ground. The stakes are high. These negotiations will influence not only Alberta's economic trajectory, but also the broader framework of intergovernmental cooperation across Canada. Ultimately, Smith's demands represent more than provincial grievances. They signal a wider call for respect, recognition, and reform within the Federation. How Ottawa responds will determine whether Canada moves toward a more decentralized, regionally empowered model or entrenches existing federal authority. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the outcome of this standoff will shape debates over resource control, fiscal fairness, and the balance of power within Canada. The coming months will be pivotal in defining the relationship between provincial aspirations and national priorities, setting a course for Canada's future governance.